A Promise is a Promise by Florence, Parry, Heide, illustrated by Tony Off. Get to the beginning here. George was a very lucky boy. Just that week his father had said, "You're a very lucky boy, George." "Your father is right, George," said George's mother. "You have everything a boy could want." "Well, I don't have a pet," said George. "I'm the only kid in town who doesn't have a pet. I'm probably the only kid in the whole world who doesn't have a pet." "That's ridiculous," said George's father. "I'll say," said George. "Oh dear," said George's mother. "I wouldn't want him to be the only boy in the whole world who didn't have a pet." "So can I have a pet?" asked George. His father sighed. "All right, George, you may have a pet." So George went to look for a pet. That afternoon, George said to his mother and father, "I have a pet and his name is Oliver. I'll bring him in." George brought in a very large, very shaggy dog. The dog jumped on George's father and knocked him down. "Oh dear," said George's mother. "Look, his dad is underneath the dog." That is a big dog. "Take him back," said George's father. "Take him back and get a pet that doesn't jump up on people or shed," he said, brushing himself off. "Or eat too much," said George's mother. "He'd eat us out of house and home. And get a pet that doesn't have to be let in and out and taken for walks, dear." "Jeepers," said George. "Come on, Oliver." Aw. The next day, George said to his mother, "I have a pet, and it doesn't jump up on people, and it doesn't shed, and it doesn't eat too much, and it doesn't have to be let in and out, and it doesn't have to be taken out on walks, and his name is Philip." "That's nice, dear," said George's mother. "Your father will be so pleased." I wonder what it is. Let's find out. "This is Philip," said George. Look at that. "Phoebe is around here somewhere, too. Maybe she went to check on her babies." Uh-oh. "Take Philip back! Take Phoebe back!" said George's mother. "And take the babies back now!" "Gee whiz," said George. "You said I could have a pet." "Nothing that scampers," said George's mother, "and nothing that multiplies." "Everything multiplies," said George. "Otherwise there wouldn't be anything. Nothing that multiplies much," said George's mother. "There's Phoebe now," she added in a loud voice. "Okay, okay," said George. "You don't have to get so excited." Look, there's Phoebe. Oh, look, there's a little baby one. And another one, and another one. They're everywhere. Look at them. They're everywhere. The next day, George came into the living room. "I have a new pet," said George, "and it doesn't jump up on people, and it doesn't shed, and it doesn't have to be let in and out, and it doesn't have to be taken on walks, and it doesn't scamper, and it doesn't multiply much, and her name is Penelope. She's in the bathtub." Oh, in the bathtub. I wonder what that is. George's mother and father went with George to see his new pet. A very large something was in the bathtub. An enormous something. George's mother wasn't positive, but she thought it looked very much like a shark. It was a shark. "Oh dear," said George's mother. Look at the teeth on that thing. "This is too much," said George's father. "Take it back." "Why?" asked George. "It doesn't jump up on people, and it's too unusual, dear," said George's mother. "And it has such big teeth." "Your mother is right, George," said George's father. "It's too unusual." George sighed. "You'll never be satisfied. No matter what pet I bring home, you'll find something wrong with it." "Birds are nice, dear," said George's mother. "They don't jump up on people or shed." Or, "Your mother is right, George," said George's father. "Get a bird." "Okay, okay," said George. "I'll get a bird. But how do I know you'll let me keep it? You always change your minds." "Your mother and I promise you may keep a bird," said George's father, "and a promise is a promise." "Yes, George," said George's mother, "your father is right. A promise is a promise." Well, okay, said George. Come on, Penelope. The next day, George came home and said, I have a bird. Hubba hubba, said a voice from the kitchen. There's Horatio now, said George. I'll bring him in. He loves to visit. This is Horatio, said George. Well, well, said George's father. Mercy, said George's mother. Pretty big, eh? Look at him. Polly wants a cracker, said Horatio. Who's Polly? Asked George's mother. Shut up, you big boob, said Horatio. Is he talking to me? Asked George's mother. Where's that cracker? Said Horatio. Take him back, George, said George's father. Get a bird that doesn't talk. You're a big fat nincompoop, said Horatio. Certainly nothing that swears, dear, said George's mother. Take him back right now, George, said George's father. But you promised, said George, and a promise is a promise. Yes, dear, you promised, said George's mother. George's father sighed. How do things like this happen? Hubba hubba, said Horatio. Gotcha! Oh, wow, I guess a promise really is a promise, said George. And there he is on the lamp. A Promise is a Promise by Florence, Parry, Heide.